And we're still waiting.
Welcome. Here we go. We are so excited for this show today. Welcome to Live with Marcy and Amy. Oh, okay. Here we go.
Good morning.
So happy to be here. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Amy and I are so excited to be offering this show to you today. Of course, it's very timely, but it's also really, really important. And so, with that, officially let us welcome you to Live with Marcy and Amy, the Heart Centered Woman. Today, we are going to be talking about holding yourself through the holidays, no shrinking, overgiving, or performing. So, how to stay empowered and calm without abandoning yourself. Oh, yeah. So, Amy, let's see, you want to just tell a little bit about yourself for our first timers that are here with us today?
Yes. So, welcome to Live with Marcy and Amy. We do this every third Thursday of the month to support you in your journey of life and all the ups and downs and all the celebrations and all the different, you know, changes that we go through as women in our life. We're here to support you. I'm
Yeah.
Amy Shade. I am the creator of the Radical Embodiment Method. I'm also a certified life coach, and I support women really navigating all those changes, navigating life, and also releasing and letting go of what we were conditioned to believe and conditioned to believe we needed to be happy when many of us go to that space and we realize this is not what we really signed up for. This is not what we. So I help women get back to themselves, be authentic, and to really let go of the things that have been keeping them stuck. Um, and with that, I will pass it on to Marcy to say hello to everybody.
So, hello again. I am Marcy Newman, the Heart Shift Coach. And heart shifting is my passion. It is the culmination of over 50 years in this field of helping people to heal their hearts. I focus in on helping women to cultivate the courage that it takes to love themselves enough to live a heart-centered life. This is something that, of course, is very often misunderstood, and no one teaches you how to do this. And in fact, it's quite the opposite. We are programmed to not live in our hearts and to live in our heads instead, which is why we never find the fulfillment or the level of happiness or health or success that we're all yearning for. And so, with the work that I do, it is one of expansion and stepping into that authenticity so that you are the most powerful expression of the divine being that you are, and you are here to grace the world. So, with that, I do have a quote, Amy, that I'd love to share with our audience. And let me just repeat our theme for today. It is holding yourself through the holidays, no shrinking, overgiving, or performing. How to stay empowered and calm without abandoning yourself. So I chose this quote from Lucille Ball. Everybody remember I Love Lucy? One of my absolute all-time favorites. But I thought this was interesting that this quote actually came from her. It goes like this: love yourself first, and everything else falls into line. Now, that's pretty profound, right? And I don't know about you, but I have this image of Lucy like being all over the place and trying to be everything to everybody else, and always working so hard to get her authentic self to come up and, be expressed, and just really having a crazy time doing that. But clearly, that is a persona that she played. because in her heart, she spoke about loving yourself. And as you've heard Amy and I say, in our work, we are always striving to help women to find their authentic selves. And so, with that, Amy, I'd love to dive in and ask you a question. Um, so, tell me something. So many women feel pressured to perform during the holidays. What's that all about? Like, what's really going on underneath that?
Oh my gosh. Yes, so many things. So many things. There's perfection. There's trying to recreate maybe their own family experience and bring it to the table. There's also
Mhm.
trying to find redemption in not having that as a child. So they're trying to create this fantasy world about this perfect holiday. They also feel oftentimes that there's a lot of control that comes with managing everybody, telling everybody what to do, how to do it, and then complaining about this and complaining about that person. And there's a lot of like frantic energy that comes up in a woman that brings up this level of importance that the patriarchy has told us we must do and look like and be like to be important, to be important.
Yeah.
And so we are performing, we are trying to create something that we never had or recreate it in a different with different people in a different time and different settings. And so I had a client one time who every year would have this big party and she was like so uh frustrated by it. She didn't even like it. She hated doing it, but would still do it every year. And so she also was not willing to let other people have some kind of input so that she was always at the helm of her ship that she hated, that she didn't want to do. So we really worked on really releasing those expectations that she had to do everything for everybody, for her for her Thanksgiving to be perfect.
Mm.
And the thing about it is, it's interesting because the more that you allow people to contribute, the less you let go of that control, the more people actually feel gratitude and appreciated and included instead of just showing up because people love to be included.
Of
So
course.
a lot of women are have that expectation. It's about perfection, it's about recreating, it's about being in control, it's about a heightened sense of importance. And it's really about and also about uh our nervous system is firing, and to us somehow that means it's important that we must do it, that we are in a position that we cannot say no. That's the other thing. People can't say no. No, I don't want to do it at my house this year. Let's do it at Sally's house, right?
Right.
So there's all that. This it's so multi-layered, and this is the beautiful thing about this work is that it's really individual. It's really individual, and we all have our past, and we all have uh, our idea of Thanksgiving, and we all get to figure it out.
Yeah.
We all get to figure it out. So
Makes
Marcy,
perfect sense.
yeah. So Marcy, what is the number one cause of our shrinking, overgiving, or performing during the holiday season, and what can be done about it?
So, I think very often what comes up is this fear of exposure. And you sort of talked a little bit about it, Amy, right? But we come into these family situations And suddenly we are faced with people who we have history with. They know us in all of our different forms, all of our different iterations, you might say, right? And I know for myself, as I have grown and expanded into the version of myself that I am today, I am in no way, you know, who I was, I don't know, 30 years ago, 40 years ago when I lived with my family, when I was growing up with them. I'm sure I was a brat, in a lot of ways. And I know, oh my gosh, I know I gave my parents a real run for their money. And, my entire family would look at me, number one, as the rebel. I never was in line. I never, would just take anything at face value. I was always asking questions. And so a lot of times I was looked upon as being the troublemaker, right? Why can't you just behave? That was a theme with my husband also. Why can't you just behave? And so we get back into these family situations, and it's almost like they want us to revert to who we were so that they know how to relate to us. And that happens, particularly like in my case, and I'm sure many in our audience, where you now live apart from them. You don't maybe even live in the same city or the same state or maybe the same country. But we come back together, and there's part of us, I think, that wants to, be who we were. There's a certain sense of belonging or connection, that we're longing for. And yet, where they want us to go is a place where it is absolutely the opposite of where our heart wants to take us. Our heart wants us to be authentic right here, right now, not who you were and not who you're going to be. And so a lot of times you come to a holiday table and you have people who are, pontificating about all their achievements and their goals and what they're going to do and building themselves up. And there's a part of that that is great to share all of that. And then this other part where you recognize, and this goes to performing, as you were talking about, Amy, right? It's like trying so hard to be seen for who you are now and not having any place for that to really be. So this fear of exposure about our shortcomings, about, again, who we used to be and being, forced in a lot of ways to shrink into that persona is something that causes so much stress because we're not that, number one, but we also don't want to be there. And yet we know that who we are now may not be accepted. We just might not be accepted for who we are. And so, what can we do about it? Well, of course, the answer is always, that, as Amy talks about, that radical embodiment of truth, of yourself, your authentic self, and really letting go of the validation that you are looking for from others, letting go of not living up to their expectations, letting go of the fear of disappointing them, and letting go of the fear of, let's face it, like the fear of exposure. And that exposure is fear of who you used to be and also fear of who you are. Because who does she think she is? Like, what is she talking about? She's not really one of us. So, oh my gosh, families are so complicated. And yet, what's our job? Our job is to love each other. just as we are, just as we are, which means that you must let go of all of those limitations, all of those fears, so that you can truly love yourself and then extend that love to others, letting them be who they are now, not holding them to who they used to be, not holding them back by, you know, being afraid of their successes in comparison to yours. Everything begins within us. Everything that we experience on the outside is coming from that energy on the inside. So it's up to us to mitigate all of that and to let go of the energy that is keeping us tethered to who do we think we are. So, uh, thanks so much for that, Aim. I'd like to ask you a question. How has your personal experience with your family shaped the way you help women navigate the holidays?
Yeah, I want to piggyback on one thing and that you said was that people we are all on our own path, and there's some of us who are growing and moving along, and throughout the years we've known our family members or our friends, right? And I used to have a friend who has since passed, but you know, it was time where I was like maybe 20 years ago, and I'm a healthy eater and all that. And I swear to gosh, he was like so always ready to say, well, when you were 16, you used to eat McDonald's, right? Like he just could not like see that I've evolved from that. And somehow that's
Yeah.
like he kept just trying to get me back into, because we went to high school together and everything, back into the days of my younghood when I would eat McDonald's. And I would say, yeah, that was like 30 years, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And it really says something about a person who, and this is where really grace comes in,
I love that.
because we have to recognize that he was still in his bad habits of what he was doing. And
Yeah.
so I wasn't doing that anymore. I was just doing what I wanted to do, but he had self-judgment, obviously.
Yeah.
And he focused it on me to try to say, hey, but you did it too. So we all get to like, when people try to hold you to the past self, it's really a reflection of them and how they have not grown. So just to put that out there, people. So yes,
Yeah.
okay. My
So
family
how do you
history.
help women navigate
Yes,
the
I have.
holidays
Yes.
based on your personal experiences?
Yeah. So my personal experience, I got an early training in the climate we have now. I had early training in my family. One of the members was the agitator, the one who wanted to talk about politics in a room full of people who thought differently around him. He was the one who wanted to say abrupt, horrible things out of nowhere. And you're like, what? Right? He was the agitator. And I had a lot of training around how to not engage in that type of conflict, right? And it wasn't easy. I mean, I started off in conflict. So every holiday, every get together was a conflict of arguing through these ridiculous claims, right? And so we all had to make a decision and be like, okay, I had to make a decision. Do I want to enter into this type of conversation with this person, or do I want to have a good time?
Yeah.
Like I had to really make that decision first and foremost. I think this is a thing. You have to decide your own choice. I help women make these choices. Do you want to be miserable, or do you want to be happy? Do you want to have a good time, or do you want to get into conflict and fight? Because oftentimes we still are in fighting mode. Well, I'll talk about that later. We're still in fighting mode. So it's really great before you enter that door to decide what you want as an outcome. It's, and then what we do is we have to really make that outcome our vision, make that outcome so important to us. We must embody it. We must enroll in it. We must feel so strongly in it that it's less likely to be penetrated. I'm going to say
Yeah.
less likely because often, sometimes we lose it, right? But through my training, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the training I had, 15 years ago up to now, like, because it just made me more embodied in my desire for connection versus conflict. And if you know me, I used to love conflict. I used to really thrive off of it, off of the arguing, off of the winning, off of all that stuff. And I realized that all of that is not important. What's important is connection.
Yeah.
And how can you find connection with that person who is confrontational, who is oftentimes ridiculous, if you want to have it? Mine was like my, parent. So of course I did not want to break off connection,
Yeah.
but I just decided to talk about the Chargers with him, talk about football, talk about something he was into. And so I think it's important that we need to come up with a plan. We need to come up with a vision, and we need to decide what's most important for us. Otherwise, we have no backup plan. You need a plan. You need a plan.
Yeah.
That's why I say to women, you need a plan. Don't walk in there like a deer in the headlights. You need to come prepared. So Marcy,
Yes.
you often say that for you, staying empowered means that you are in a specific energy frequency. What is that, and how does it help you with overwhelm during the holidays?
Yeah. This is such an important point of discussion for us because just as you were saying, Amy, you need a plan. My plan is always energetic. What is the frequency that I know will help me to stay stable, will help me to stay in peace? We've talked about peace so often, right? Like, that's a non-negotiable. So, what is that frequency? And so for me, I've tuned myself into this frequency of self-love so that I know when I'm out of it. And that's really very important information. I know how my body feels when I'm out of it. I know the sort of thoughts that will infiltrate my mind when I'm out of it. And I know also what the results will be when I'm out of it. So, just like Amy was saying, you need to have a plan. What is the energy that you want to take with you? Is it one where you're wearing armor? Is it one where you are going to use, play the card where you're going to be the shoulder for everyone to cry on? Are you going to be the one that is giving orders and directing everyone? And by the way, that's not a judgment. There are people like that's their comfort zone, right? And so they take over that role, particularly in holidays, to protect themselves. It's a form of armor. So, what is the energy that you want to wear? And also, what is the energy that, from my perspective, is going to allow you to be authentic, to show up just as you are? And here's the reason for that. When we go into holiday situations, there's a part of us that is yearning for perhaps something that you didn't get from your family. And that was being loved for who you are. in striving for that authenticity, we are looking to be loved for who we are. So guess what? In order to be loved for who you are, you need to be who you are. You need to allow yourself to be vulnerable. You need to allow yourself to express, not in a confrontational way, but express your heart, express perhaps your wish, how you would like to see things, but express nonetheless. I know for myself, I would shrink down, and it would be because there'd be no place for my love to land. It was that, you're too much kind of an attitude. And because my ideas have always sort of deviated from the rest of my families. And so I started to be authentic, not to clobber somebody over the head with who I am or my thoughts, but to introduce them. And I would see myself as planting seeds so that, when you plant seeds, you have no idea whether they're going to take root or bloom or grow. And, particularly if it's of a tree, for instance, you have no idea what the longevity of that is or if it will grow to adulthood. And so letting go of your expectations of those seeds is something that I have found to be very helpful for me. But at all costs, I will be authentic. Now, what that also means is that I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to be vulnerable. I may get, some confrontation. I may get some pushback. I may get, like Amy was talking about with her friend. I remember, yeah, when you were 16, you used to do this, 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 and this. Trust me, you don't want anyone going through my teenage years, okay? So this is where we love ourselves enough to find peace in all of that, so that when it is brought up and you are held to that as a parameter for who you are, you can just accept that that is through their eyes. Excuse me, but it doesn't make it real. It doesn't make it real. And just because they can't see you now does not mean that the image that they have of you has anything to do with who you are in this moment. So this is another way that we really claim our authenticity. We don't allow other people to make those determinations for us, but we come always from this place of love. Love for ourselves, exactly as we are, love for ourselves and our willingness to be vulnerable, and love for ourselves that, we're in these environments and these holiday celebrations, and that there indeed is something to be celebrated there. This is such a gift for ourselves. And yeah, it's really worthy of putting your attention into. Yeah. Choose your frequency. Choose it wisely. All right. Ames, moving on to you. Okay. I love this whole theme we've got going on. For women who want to enjoy the holidays but feel stuck between their growth and their family's expectations, what guidance would you give?
Yes, thank you for that, Marcy. You know, we've got God, we're such amazing women. We are such amazing women on this journey where we are striving and we are learning and we are growing and we are asking, or we're rising our own frequency, our own sense of like willingness to be curious about what we want next and who we want to be next. And it's such a beautiful sacred space. It's a beautiful sacred space that demands compassion for self. It demands grace for all of the fumblings. It demands compassion for yourself and your heart, as you know, you are taking risks. We're actually taking risks is what we're doing. It's a very risky endeavor to really open up your heart for many people. And so in this space that we are living, in this space that we are deciding to be in this space that we signed ourselves up with, saying, I don't want to be this person anymore. I want to do better. I want to be better. I want to figure this out. I want to grow my life. I want to grow relationships, whatever it is you want. We've got our old self here, and then we've got the new self, right? Who are we have a vision about who we want to be. We already are there, but that's fine. We're trying, we're working it. We're like forgiving. We're opening our heart. We're meditating. We're opening it. Right? We're getting, Mother God, please help me. Right. So we are in this beautiful space. Okay. And so you walk into this holiday space, and oftentimes the people there know the old self. That's who they know. That's who they feel comfortable with.
Right.
That is the person they grew up with. That's the person they raised. That whatever it is, right? They think they know you. Okay. Because that's the old self. Now you have taken like 5, 10, 15 steps away from the old self, right? Into the new self. And there's this gray area. I just want us to really like break this down in a visual way, because it's important that when we enter this room, people love to feel comfortable as part of one of our basic needs. And people are very comfortable knowing exactly who you are. They feel comfortable with that for whatever reason. That brings them a lot of comfort. And so you are walking in a different person on so many levels, that I don't know, a different person, but like a more open heart, more vulnerable, more curious, right? And so I would just say to you, compassion for self. Do your best. Be who you want to be, but if it messes up and you lose it, that's okay too. That's okay too. There is nothing wrong with that. We cannot be perfect. We can't put perfection around our growth. That is the worst thing that anyone can do. You can say, shoot, I gave it my best try. Next year, or there's Christmas, I could try again, right? But to let go of that perfection and self-judgment that you're not where you thought you were, right? No one is really where they think they are, right? So it's really into putting things into practice that we learn where we're at. We learn where we're actually at, and where we get to like dive in deeper into our own healing around these spaces. So I would just say, know that there was an old self, and people expect that old self, and know that the new self has this hope and desire to be better and do better and be more open. But in between that, there's some fumblings around, which is fine. It's part of your growth. It's part of like a key to say, oh, I still need to work on my mother wound, or I still need to work on, this self-judgment. I need to work on my worthiness, right? And so I would just give yourself grace, compassion, and, just love who you are and where you're at. And you're doing a great job. You be your own cheerleader. Be your own cheerleader. Yesterday, I subbed a class, ballet class, this little girl who's a beautiful dancer. All she was saying was negative things about herself. And I just said, you know what? It's better if you say good things about yourself, not the negative things.
Yeah.
Because you're doing a great job. Right. And so we need to remember it ourselves, that we need to be our own cheerleader and say the good. Say the good thing. Oh, I did this. I was like really proud of myself. Right. Instead of focusing on what went wrong.
Yeah.
That's patriarchal, that's perfection, that's judgment. All right, Marcy.
Yes.
How can people recognize when when they are abounding themselves during the holiday season? And is there a way to prevent it?
Yeah. So, um, yeah. So when we're abandoning ourselves, I want to just give like sort of an overview of what happens during that time. When we start to abandon ourselves, it is because we are allowing, and this is just something everybody just needs to accept. We're allowing in that moment to have the ego, for the ego to have control over the situation. And when that happens, we lose our connection to our heart. You can't be in both places at once. All right. So, what the ego is constantly trying to do is keep control over you. It wants you to stay in a place where you are in confusion, where you forget your truth, and where you forget where your peace lies. When you are tuned into your peace and it becomes this energy that you are focusing on and you're making certain that you keep feeding it, you will stay connected to your heart. Your heart and a peaceful heart is your access to love, the very energy that you are. So when you are brought out of alignment with your heart and with that peace that's part of it, then the ego has taken over. And I want you to know that the moment that that happens, it will start to fight to keep you there. So this is where all of the self-doubt starts coming in. You're not enough. You're not worthy. You're laughable. You are not funny enough. You're not smart enough. You're not lovable enough. You're not worthy enough. All of this stuff. And it becomes this deeper, deeper, deeper state of confusion. When that energy has taken over, you will abandon yourself. And what do I mean by that? You will stop feeding your peace. You will stop feeding your truth. You will stop feeding your heart. And that is true abandonment because in that moment, you are separating yourself from your own divinity, the source energy that is there to keep you empowered. So we take a look at, what are the things that are happening around us that have caused us to start to be filled with self-doubt and to feel insecure and unsure of ourselves. Well, all of the things that Amy and I have been talking about are those things. And so being alert when those things start to happen, that you have a choice, bam, right then and there. Will you continue to put your focus on that? Will you allow that person to, tell stories at your expense? Those stories, a lot of times from your past, let's face it, they can be hilarious. Okay, there have been times where I have fallen on the floor just laughing so hard. But in those moments, I was able to do that because I had such a strong connection to myself and who I am now. And that person who I used to be, the one who used to climb out of her bedroom window to go to parties and all that kind of thing, yeah, that person actually has contributed to who I am today. I have that same sort of fierce independence and, um, willingness to take risk. I just do. It's part of my personality. So being aware of how you are feeling at any given moment is your key to empowerment. It's your key to your success in actually being in your holiday celebration and being content with who you are. So, this abandonment of self is just because in that moment, the ego's voice has gotten very loud and wants you to go back to being that 4 year old child hiding behind the couch, afraid of being exposed. That's it. So, when we understand this about ourselves, we also understand how important it is in that moment not to abandon ourselves because it's fueling the relationship with the ego rather than fueling the relationship with the heart. Remember, the heart is your connection to your higher self, your divinity. And so it's never going to lead you astray. And guess what? It doesn't remember who you were 20 years ago because it's all in the now. It is the creative force that's flowing through you. And that only happens in the now. It's in this nanosecond. So when we start, this is like really connecting the dots stuff, right? We're looking at all of our teachings up until this moment, and we're putting them into practice. We must integrate these into our everyday lives, but trust me when I tell you, during the holidays, they are going to need to kick into high gear because there are just special needs during that time. Let's just say it like that. And speaking of special needs, Amy, let's talk about our workshop coming up. There is power again in creating this energy frequency, creating your plan. And that's what Amy and I want to share with you when we come together next Tuesday for this workshop. We want to work on that with you, making certain that you go into your holiday as equipped to create happiness as you can and to really enjoy yourself in a way that maybe you never have before. So, Amy, want to talk about that?
Yeah. So, this is for you, if you walk away feeling like, it's so painful to walk away from a situation feeling like you didn't really show up for yourself, you let yourself down, right? Um it's this workshop will really speak to that. It also, if the holidays are exhausting you instead of nourishing you, this is for you also, because we need to really come home to self, raise our frequency, plan our plan what we desire, come up with a vision about that, and to really learn how to be courageous and choose ourselves,
Yeah.
right? Because we don't want to fall back into the old roles. It's very painful to, go back into these old roles that people expect us to be. And we feel out of integrity as we walk away from that experience. Like, why did
Yeah.
I act like that? Who was that? I gave that up
Right.
a long time ago. Why did I do that? So we really will focus on those types of really painful scenarios that we find ourselves in, as we are, as I said, going from the old self to the new self, into the new ways of being, of the new responses, of the new feelings and energies. So this workshop will really address those areas for you. And Marcy and I are always committed. We have Q&A after, and we turn off the
Yep.
video. We don't record the Q&A, so there's total privacy.
That's right.
But the workshop is also very experiential, which means you don't just sit there and watch. You participate in the
That's right.
transformation, which is super important. And so that you are, again, not being an attendee, but actually participating, which is necessary for our growth. We must
Right.
participate. We must participate in the holiday so we can learn and grow from it. So
That's right.
that's what our workshops do. There's a link in there in the chat. You can go ahead and click on that and sign up. Marcy and I would love to have you and support you during the holidays.
And we want to hear from you. Like
Yeah.
Amy said, we have this time after the workshop that you are, you're totally involved in. But we have this time where we want to hear from you. And what's so valuable about that is that we learn from each other, right? So, an issue that you're having, and Amy and I are helping you through that to develop the tools that will give you the strength and the clarity that you need to go through it, that's going to help somebody else. So, we come together as a community after the workshop
Yeah.
and we discuss these things. And let's face it, I mean, there's power in numbers, right? And so, as I'm thinking about all of this, Amy, I wanted to ask you a question because you talk a lot about the power of detachment. And what does healthy detachment look like? And especially during the holidays, especially with family.
Yes. Yeah. So detachment is beautiful. And, you know, it's a beautiful way of living life. And right now, it's really needed on many levels because we're being infiltrated with all this information that we used to not have, you know, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. We're being bombarded with information, 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 information. And if we are not careful, we sign up. We sign up for like getting involved with the information.
Yeah.
We were like participating with the information. So detachment really is powerful in that I see the information, I understand the information, but I am not the information, number one. And number two, I am not going to engage with the information. So what it feels like, detachment, healthy detachment, is there's a knowing, there's an understanding, but there's not an emotional
Mm.
engagement with it. The emotional engagement is a thing that takes us out. And what happens when we are in a healthy detachment state of life and living that way is that we can actually have freedom to hook straight up to Mother God, God, universe, energy, love, and know that that's all there is. Like there's becomes this knowing of all of those things really are just constructs. What's important here is me. I'm the one who's real. I'm the one who's important. I'm the one who is like capable of making decisions about who I'm going to be, how I'm going to react, if I'm going to react, how I'm going to approach something. And what this detachment does is that when someone says something to you that might be hurtful or that you might consider hurtful, they don't, whatever, right? I don't think most people are intentional in their hurt. Some are, but I think most aren't. What happens is you have this understanding that what that person is saying, what is coming out of their mouth, is from their perspective. It's from their lived life experience. It's from their how they perceive the world. I perceive the world differently in that that person saying something to me is not going to infiltrate me because I understand that where they are coming from is a place of not working on themselves, in a place of they're still stuck in anger, they're still stuck in humor. Sometimes humor is very hurtful, as we know, making fun of people,
Mm-hmm.
that they are still stuck in their turmoil. Turmoil. I understand that we're all separate. That's what detachment does. Detachment says, I'm a separate human being in my own path. They have their own path. So I'm detaching from their path. They get to figure their own path out. This is hard for women, I know. But the healthy detachment is understanding that just because that person gave me life, right, doesn't mean that we have to be like this.
That's right.
What it means is that she gave me life or he gave me life, right? And that's, I'm due that. This now it's my life. It's not their life, it's my life. So healthy detachment is really first you got to give up the fight. Got to give it up. You got to give up being right. Got to give that up. You know, people say things to me that I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Wow, okay. But I don't take it on like I need to fix them, change them, or beat them down. So we must give up this fight within ourselves. And I gave it up. I mean, I was a fighter, man. I was a big fighter. She still comes out every once in a while, but as you could tell. But I really have like, ooh, breathe, let them, I give thanks to God, Mother God, that is not that person. That's not me. I give thanks.
Right.
I give gratitude and thanks for all the work I've done and that I am not that angry little person over there. I am
Right.
not that. I am not that.
That's right.
And what people are doing oftentimes is trying to make you that
Yep.
so they can fight because people love to fight.
That's
But
right.
I took myself out of the ring.
Good one.
I have
All
boxing
right.
gloves.
Do you have one more question for me?
Yeah, I
I want to make
do.
sure we have time to
Yeah,
talk about as much as we can.
yeah. So, what has been the contributing factor when you have experienced, is this it? Overwhelm at the holidays? What did you experience and how did you bring yourself back into being empowered instead of giving
Yeah.
your power away?
So it all has to do with centering. It has to do, and you may be recognizing this theme in everything that Amy and I are sharing with you. Making a plan, creating that frequency, which again, we're going to help you with during this workshop. So important. And so when we're in this place where we're suddenly in overwhelm, we have lost our center. And this happens when we have tried ourselves to go back to who we were. So let's say, for instance, you in the past have been that person, like I said, who just takes control and does, this, and this, and you've moved beyond it. Well, because you've had that role, again, your family may expect you to take it. And when you try to fit back into that role, it will feel like a square peg in a round hole. It's exactly what it's going to feel like. It will feel like you don't fit there any longer. And so you'll try something else. And so we keep going back to what was familiar, but when we are no longer there energetically or even in how we relate to it, right? We have expanded beyond that. It will feel so uncomfortable that we will lose our sense of who we are, right? We'll forget all about her and who she is now. And we will forget that we came into that situation empowered. And so we have to come up with these strategies. Strategies, okay, how do I come back to center? How do I get grounded? And again, we're going to talk all about this in the workshop, but one of the things that I do for myself And, I'm sure that there are people who have raised their eyebrows, but I'll go into the bathroom and I will, go through breathing. I'll go through, if you're familiar with tapping, I'll tap. I'll do whatever I can in a relatively short amount of time until I can feel my breath being able to make it all the way down to the soles of my feet. Once I can do that, I know I can connect with Gaia, with Mother Earth. And then my roots have a place to go and I can get grounded. But that's just one of the things. There are so many things that we can do, but we need to have those in our tool belts. We need to know what's going to work for me in the fastest way. What if somebody else is in the bathroom and you feel yourself going into a downward spiral and there's only one bathroom? What do you do? What do you do when you feel yourself like going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and you just say, oh, screw it, this will be over soon? Well, guess what? There is an echo. There's a ripple effect to when you have allowed yourself willingly to be knocked off course. And it will unfortunately take more energy to bring yourself back than it would if you just said, okay, what can I do right now? So there's the wider that gap between where you are and where you want to be, which means that you have not taken the action that's in alignment with what it is that you want to create instead. When that is, lagging, what happens is, and this is almost like, it's almost simultaneous, but again, you're losing that connection to self, to your center, and your relationship with self is eroded. What happens immediately is there is a sense of distrust, a distrust of self that now extends out, and you find yourself distrusting of those around you who, for all reasons that we can believe, love you and want to relate to you in some way. So you've blocked yourself off from the ability to receive their love. You've blocked yourself off from your ability to give love, which is why you're there in the first place. You want to be in that exchange of love. It's what we all yearn for, and it's what we're all looking for as we go into these holidays. It's why we get together. We do want to remember the love that binds us. We do want to get past any, past hurts or disappointments or places where, we lost connection to our hearts. We want that because it's our natural state. Our natural state is as love. And so as love, we need to love. But love is fulfilled only with giving and receiving. So just know that this is the mechanism that's actually taking place. And so we align ourselves with working as hard as possible to stay connected to it so that love is fulfilled through us. And then we walk away having received everything that, we went looking for. So I think this has been an incredible show, Amy, and I can't wait to hear some of the feedback. Please, whether you're listening, watching this now or later, please come back to us and let us know what has served you, what has inspired you, what spoke to you, what you felt in your heart. It's so important. And please, when you are thinking about registering for the workshop, take the action. Make certain that you are getting what you need to support yourself during these times. And remember, it's not just one holiday. We have a whole bunch of them coming up, and we want to show up in the best form possible. And again, that is in our ability to give and receive love. So again, the link is in the chat. please sign up for that workshop. Let us help you to be empowered with giving you a whole tool belt full of tools. And individually, we will help you to set your frequency and set a plan. Okay? So, with that, as always, Amy, I love so much being here with you every month. We marvel at all of the territory that we manage to cover when we're together, right?
Yeah.
And I just want everyone to know how thankful and grateful I am to be partnered with Amy in this way in, bringing you this material. It really feeds my heart.
Yeah. Thank you, Marcy. Yes. Me too. But I also want to say, don't forget to leave comments in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And next month, I'm giving you a little bit of a peek inside. Next month, we'll have our
Oh,
grief.
yeah.
Next month is our grief show, which is such a beautiful showing of experience from Marcy and I. And it's a beautiful container. So look out for the grief show next month. And I think we hit everything, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I
We'd love to
think
see you
so
on the
too.
workshop, of course. We'd love to see you on the workshop. And we
Yeah.
look forward to next month with you.
Yeah. And the link, of course, is in the chat. And it's a perfect place also to leave your appreciation. So thank you so very much. We love you. And we love being here with you every month. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let's see here. I gotta stop.